Underline that phrase, and I know such a man. Then jump down to verse 5. Paul said, of such a one I will boast. So verse 2, he said, I know a man in Christ. Verse 3, he said, I know such a man. Then in verse 5, he says, of such a one I will boast. Well, it sounds like to me Paul was very confident in who he was. And I want you to know that when Paul said, I know such a man in Christ, you can say the same thing. He's talking about you too. Paul was talking about who he was in Christ. He knew such a man. We need to know such a man. Paul knew who he was, didn't he? And as believers today, as Christians today, we need to know that we know who we are. I remember, probably, back 40 years ago, I was listening to a message by Dr. Lester Sumrall. And he shared the story about this Arab father who had, his son was about, of age where he is going to leave the house and go out into the world and make a life for himself. And the father said, son, before you leave, I just want to give you a little piece of advice about some of the people you're going to meet in the world you're going to go into. And son said, okay. And the father said, you're going to meet at least 4 different types of people. The first type you'll probably meet are those that don't know, and they don't know they don't know. He said, they're stupid. Don't follow them. And he said, the second type of people you're going to meet are those that don't know, but they know they don't know. He said, they're asleep. Somebody needs to wake them up. Then he said, the third type of people you're going to meet are those that know, they know, but they don't know they know. He said, they're asleep also. Wake them up. But then he said, the fourth type of person you'll meet in this world are those that know, and they know that they know. He said, follow them. And I believe Paul was that fourth type of person. Now, I know he was talking, this Arab father was talking about those that know. He wasn't talking about those that know the word, but I like to relate it to what Paul was talking about. We need to be those that know the word, know who we are in Christ, and we know that we know. We need to be fully established and strong in that, don't we? And I believe that's what Paul, I just think of that. I thought of that story when I was reading these comments that Paul made here. In verse 2, he said, I know a man in Christ. Verse 3, he said, and I know such a man. Then in verse 5, he said, of such a one I will boast. Now I want you to notice, he said, in verse 5, he said, of such a one I will boast. Yet of myself I will not boast, except in my infirmities or my weaknesses. For though I might desire to boast, I will not be a fool, for I will speak the truth.